Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Kyle here. Welcome to the You Know I Got Soul in Stereo podcast. We've got one person here who doesn't eat beef. We have another person here who only listens to Keith. Yep. Ed and Tom, we've been gone for so long. What's been up?
R&B, man. Just fighting to keep it alive. Not much has been coming out, but we're still doing what we can here.
We got a few reviews here and there, a couple of albums that dropped, but really nothing significant, unless you're in the Beehive, and then you have had something significant. But everybody else been chilling.
You're speaking out of turn, Ed. You didn't even get the proper introduction.
Yes.
Wait, hold on.
While we were away, I wanted to talk about what happened while we were away. Because in my inbox, if you missed this piece of brilliance, I need you right now to go to soulandstereo.com, look on the right rail of the page, and see who gives your boy a shout-out after all these years. When you get a recognition from Keith Sweat, oh, my day is done. The homie Keith Sweat came through, get a video drop for Soul and Stereo. Shout-out to Tom for making that happen. I will have to name my son now Thomas Leo Bowser.
That sounds like a great name.
All right, well, calm down, guys. I think as much as we like to joke around, I think our listeners care a little bit about us as individuals as well. Now, Ed, we got to first congratulate you on the new job.
Thank you, player. Thank you.
We don't want to get too much into
Yeah, we don't want to get too much into it, but we'll, just keep it.
Well, we'll congratulate Ed on that, and then Tom, of course, for yourself, and me as well. We've gone back to school, going back to the education thing.
Word, I hadn't heard this. This is news to me.
I'm studying for a securities license, so I can be licensed to trade securities. Is that interesting?
Yeah.
Man, big things in the house.
Hold on, Tom. I got a question to ask you.
Yep.
What's worse, reading a textbook or listening to the 112 Hot and Wet album? I'm just kidding.
The 112 what?
Hot and Wet album. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, man, you're starting out like that, man.
I'm just kidding.
That album has some good songs on it.
I'm gonna chill over here in the cut and let y'all talk about the Wife Beater album, as I call it, because they're on the front of that album looking so sweaty, like they were just changing all types of tires.
Wow,
man. But I want to give a quick shout out to Lloyd, the R&B singer Lloyd. He actually just got his GED diploma, so he went back to school as well. So shout outs to him.
Everyone's going back to school.
Shout out to the man, Lloyd. Player got to make that money.
So for everyone that's been wondering where Lloyd's been for the last couple of years, he went back to school, got his GED. He's been taking care of his family. So he actually just put out a new record earlier last week. So we'll get into that later on. But Tom, I think you wanted to brief us in on what we can be expecting on this podcast since it's been a minute.
Before we go into that, he had a few years left to complete his GED, so he didn't do any high school. You knew his history. I'm not dissing the guy, but you knew his history, right, Kyle? You said he joined a group or something.
Yeah, I think back in the day he was part of a group called I think it was Noontime. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, he started out really young. This was even before the Murder Inc. days. So he's 30 now. So about time he got that education.
Yeah. Time flies, man.
Yeah,
we're getting old.
Oh gosh, yes.
All right.
Yep.
So to introduce our topic for this podcast, we're going to try something a little different. We're going to take half the podcast and discuss a topic we talked about in advance, and the other half we'll talk about what's going on in R&B. So our topic for this podcast is the Beyonce stan culture hurting R&B music?
Woo!
Ooh. Oh, wow.
Better watch those Twitter mentions, homie. Better watch them.
It's already blowing up right now.
Nope.
I bet.
And this isn't even live. So the purpose of this is, everyone, I'm pretty sure, well, actually, we can't assume people know what a stan is because we've had to explain it to some people. Ed, do you want to explain what a stan is?
A stan, I would be happy to explain, because the term comes from the Eminem song, entitled Stan, which is a song about an obsessed fan who goes on to try to kill Eminem because he's vying for attention so much that he goes off the deep end. So that has just become the internet term for super fans who are a little delusional in their fandom.
And Kyle, what is the origin of, when did you first see stans popping up as super fans? I feel like it wasn't until the internet started becoming more prevalent with message boards, but do you know the history?
I mean, like Ed said, the term stan came from the Eminem song, but, I grew up when message boards had just started, so, back in the day, there were various fan pages. I was part of an Ashanti fan page, and that wasn't even so bad. The Ashanti fans were mild, but I think a combination of the message boards and the beginning of Twitter, that really took it to a whole new level. And of course, Beyonce being the biggest artist on this planet, she had the most fans, and man, they took it to a whole level. Of course, on message boards, you see a lot of debates, a lot of discussions, but once it starts getting personal, and I think with the inclusion of younger fans getting involved, it just becomes crazy. And that's what we see today in on social media. You have a lot of personal attacks, and just a lot of bad words being said. I remember one time actually, and this goes back to my Ashanti message board days. A Beyonce fan had visited the message board and said something about Ashanti. So the fans were defending Ashanti, and all of a sudden you had this swarm full of Beyonce fans who came and invaded the message board and just took over everything. So it's been going on for over 10 years now, but I mean it's reached a whole new level now. But I mean I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
And that was the end of Ashanti's career, right there at that message board?
It's possible. It's possible.
Jeez. All right. Well, I mean, why?
Actually, hold on, Tom. I got another story for you. So,
okay.
As it continued, I don't even know how they did it, but one of the Beyonce fans actually hacked into one of the moderators on the Ashanti forums and hacked into their account and started posting as them. It was crazy. I don't know how these fans do it, but it was crazy.
Wow.
That is too much work, player. There are plenty of artists out there that people know that I am not a fan of. If you read my stuff, you know I don't like Nicki Minaj. I am not the biggest Drake fan. I could really care less about Young Thug, Lil Yachty, or whatever other weirdos with different color braids that y'all swear are hot on my timeline. But I'm a grown man. I do not have time to hack into somebody's Twitter account to attack somebody because they said something that I don't like. Please, y'all get a job, please.
Can I share a message board stand story?
Please.
So I was on the Neptunes forums back in the day because I was a Neptunes big fan. And I don't know why I was discussing, it was an off-topic section. We were arguing about who was the best rapper, not counting Jay-Z or Nas at the time. This was back in 2002 or 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And someone said Pastor Troy and Scarface. And I had this whole argument why those were the two hottest rappers out aside from Jay-Z and Nas.
You can tell it's 2002. Scarface I'll give you. Pastor Troy. Anyway, go ahead with your story.
That's the moral of the story. These people were so adamant that those were the hottest rappers out. And it just goes to show you that, well, there really is no moral of the story. I just remember that vividly for some reason.
Well, see
the thing. Go ahead, Ed. Kyle.
Well, I was going to go back into the Beyonce thing, but go for it.
Well, the thing that I would hope stans would understand, and I fight this battle, and people are like, dude, sometimes you just got to give because the culture has changed. As a music fan, as for those of you who listen to this podcast, and even outside of the podcast, when it's just me, Tom, and Kyle just talking about our favorites, we all have our favorites. We all have our preferences. And they're all people that we might tease each other about, but we recognize where they stand in the music hierarchy. So I love me some Keith Sweat. Everybody knows this. But I am not going to say that Keith Sweat has a greater musical influence than Michael Jackson, because that's just insane. But for some reason, stans have gotten in this weird period where they have to make their artists the greatest artists who ever breathed the air, and everybody else sucked. Because I did a post, this happens all the time, but one that I really remember is I ranked the top 10 female MCs, the best female rappers. As I said before, I despise Nicki Minaj, but I recognized through my biases that she should be on that list. So I made her like number 5 or 6, I can't remember. The stans went crazy because she wasn't number 1, because she's better than MC Lyte, because she's more relevant. She's better than Lil' Kim because Lil' Kim stole everything from her, even though Lil' Kim came out like 15 years before her. She's better than Queen Latifah because Queen Latifah is just a rapper. I mean, just an actress. She's better than Missy because Missy ain't done nothing lately. Like, just pull back. Say that you have your favorites and chill out.
Well, go ahead, Kyle.
Well, I was going to say, it's funny that you bring that up. Like, it's especially with Beyonce, and we're not trying to take away credit from Beyonce because, let's all face it, she's incredibly talented. We can all agree on that, right?
No question.
For sure. So it's funny because I think about maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago when Beyonce put out her last album, you know, Tom and I, we always talk R&B, you know, through text messages or whatever. And we were trying to brainstorm on different ideas on how to be innovative with album releases. And I vividly remember suggesting to Tom, someone should put out a movie as an album. That way, you know, no one can leak it or whatever because it's going to be, right, you know, premiered live, right? And 2 years later, everyone's just like, oh, my God, Beyonce's a genius for thinking of this idea. And I'm just like, hey, I thought of that idea 2 years ago. So for all the stans listening, Beyonce stole my idea.
Thanks, Kyle.
Well, I think the issue is here, why does it have to be a competition? And
right.
Why does one person have – it's like you can only like one person. It's like you have to hate the others.
Yes, there's no middle ground. Like, why can't I say that I like Beyonce? I do like Beyonce. And honestly, until this, and we'll get into Lemonade in a second, until this album, I have always said that I prefer her Destiny's Child catalog more than her singles catalog because it's always been really uneven. I think Lemonade's kind of evened it up a little bit. But the point is, I've liked her. But I'm not going to say she's the greatest thing ever. And apparently, if you don't say that, then you're doing her some kind of injustice. It's like we see with album releases. Chance the Rapper just released his mixtape. Everybody was hyped. They were like, you got to review it, Ed. It's the album of the year. Blah, 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 blah. I listened to it. It was okay. And I said it was okay, and the stans came from my throat because I said it was an album of the year. It's okay to like something and to say that it's good. It doesn't have to be the greatest album in history or the worst album in history. Why? We can't have a middle ground. Everything isn't a classic, y'all. So
let's attempt to answer the question. Has this culture hurt R&B music? And my answer would be yes, obviously, because it forces you to, the fans are choosing sides, and then they're trying to influence others to choose sides. So you might have a great artist like Beyonce and Ashanti, but these fans can only see that Beyonce is good and that Ashanti, they won't even give her a chance, even though she's made good music, and others.
Exactly.
So for me, that's my perspective. And not only that, I mean, people insulting other people that they don't even know, it's just, I don't find any place for that. I mean, this isn't an ethics podcast, but I'm just saying I just don't like that. So,
boy, I'll make it an ethics podcast. If you come up on my timeline, I'm going to give you that reel. The point is, you can like who you can like, and you can dislike who. We've got this another Twitter trend where everybody is so hyped about, so you got dragged on Twitter. Oh, you the queen of dragging. Oh, it's like we get it. Why are y'all getting excited about sending tweets degrading somebody you've never seen in real life? Like, why are you getting hyped about this? That is so lame. Like, because you told a 12-year-old to shut up, and you're hyped and you're retweeting this with the smiley face crying, laughing. Like, this, come on, y'all. Y'all grown, act like you're grown. And to a little bit on your point, Tom, about the standing culture. One thing that has hurt it for me is that stands are so prevalent, it makes you start to dislike artists.
Right.
For example, some of the biggest stands that I have faced in my career as a reviewer are the Tay Martians, the whatever K. Michelle calls her minions. Who else? Brandy's people. Because you can give a review. Oh, Mary J. Blige is another one.
Mary J. Blige, wow.
Yes. I reviewed Mary's album. I think it was the one. Remember she did the soundtrack for, I'm blanking. Kyle, what was it that she did a soundtrack for?
Think Like a Man Too.
Yes. She did her soundtrack for that. I thought that was good. I think I gave that 4 stars. But the stands came after me because, if you read my reviews, I will tell you what's good and what worked. I will talk about the songs that didn't work. They were coming for my throat because I said some song wasn't as great as they thought it should be. And I replied back, and I'm like, I gave the album 4 stars, and y'all are complaining because I didn't like one song? Please go back to school because y'all are using your school internet. I know you're in the 3rd grade. Just go back. You have to learn your arithmetic.
Well, I mean, I completely agree with you guys. Like, I look like an artist like Carrie Hilson, who's been gone for a while. I mean, you ask any person about Carrie Hilson, and her name is associated with Beyonce because of their so-called social media beef or whatever they had. And, let's face it, that's damaged her career, and it's probably made it harder for her to come back. And it's not like she's done anything wrong, but it's just the power of fans and how they utilize social media. So, I mean, it's definitely been damaging R&B.
Do you think that the artists use it to their advantage in a negative way? Like, do they embrace it too much? Should they speak out against it? I mean, what do you guys think?
I haven't seen personally too many artists do it. Now, I have seen some artists do it. I have seen some artists fan the flames. I don't want to name anybody, Tom. I'm behave. But there are a few artists that I have seen specifically say, yeah, I love my fans when they drag the haters or whatever. And it's not even that they were hating. It was just people bringing up specific criticisms. It's okay to criticize. And I think that when you have artists that kind of encourage it, it hurts it. But I don't think that's that prevalent. I haven't seen a lot of artists do that, but I've seen a couple, and it definitely fans the flames.
How cool would it be if, like, a Beyonce spoke out against it and was like, chill out or tone it down or even embraced other artists? What if she embraced other artists who were being abused by her fans? How cool would that be?
That would be cool. And I think if it would, I mean, we ain't never going to see it, but think of somebody like poor Keisha Cole who has getting just destroyed on social media every day. If she embraced her, I think that it would kind of help. But honestly, what does Beyonce have to gain by embracing Keisha Cole? So I don't think we're going to see it.
Yeah. Wasn't Beyonce the biggest role model and the best person we have out there?
You've been listening to them stands, huh?
Wow. Well, so I guess we're all in agreement. Stan culture does hurt R&B. Well,
absolutely.
Without question. And again, I just want for those stands out there, look, y'all love who you love. I will sell half y'all in slavery for Keith Sweat. I ain't gonna lie, because y'all get on my nerves and I love Keith. But I will still recognize if Keith does something that's just okay, I'm going to say it's just okay. Everything isn't a classic. Everything isn't garbage. There's middle ground. So love who you love, but don't diss somebody else for liking something else.
While we're on the topic of Beyonce, can we rank her albums? I remember having a debate just recently.
Ed, you did something like this, didn't you?
I certainly did. I had a post on soulandstereo.com that you can go see at your leisure where I ranked Beyonce's albums. And it was very interesting, the responses, because it was a really good case study. You could really tell from the responses where people lie in their music fandom. For instance, those who were like Destiny's Child fans or really big R&B fans preferred B-Day and 4 as their best albums. if you are a fan who are a newer fan, it kind of came on when Beyonce was at her zenith. The Beyonce album that Kyle was talking about a little bit earlier, the more poppy stuff, you think that Beyonce or Lemonade is the greatest thing ever, and everything else sucks. So it's weird to see that dichotomy between fans. It's almost like when Beyonce crossed over huge, she got a whole new set of fans who only like that Beyonce. And the earlier Beyonce is just like, I'm not big into it. But my personal list, I think to this day, her best album is still B-Day. I don't care what y'all say. I think that's the only album I can listen to straight through. B-Day is the best. The Beyonce album, the self-titled album, is number 2 because it's very good. Lemonade's number 3. Lemonade, I think, is a little overrated right now because of Stand 'Em and because of the HBO video. I think conceptually it's her best album as far as telling a story song for song. But the album really gets weak on the second half. So that's number 3. Number 4 is 4, which I like, but it was a little oversung in some places with some yelling. 5 is what's left? 5 is Sasha Fierce. I Am Sasha Fierce, which again was okay, but there was a little too much of everything. And then last is Dangerously in Love, which is an okay album, but a little uneven in places. So there you go. The official Soul and Stereo ranking.
We need a I Got Soul rebuttal from Kyle.
You know what? I agree with most of it. I think Sasha Fierce is actually last for me. But I don't think you would. I don't think you would really disagree with that, or maybe you would. I would swap 4 and Lemonade. Maybe Lemonade hasn't grown on me yet, or maybe it never will. But I thought 4 was a solid album. It
definitely is.
Aside from that, I mean, I agree with you. The self-titled album has actually grown on me a lot more over the past 2 years. It's probably some of her best work, as I think about it. But 4, B-Day was more of a cohesive project, so I got to go with you. Number 1 being B-Day. The debut, I don't really. It was spot on for your review. Your write up for it. I mean, we all remember the singles, but the album itself is not really anything that I remember too much of. But
yeah, if you go back and look at the track list, it'll be like 5 songs, and you won't even remember how they sound because they just don't live up to the Crazy in Love, Baby Boy, that type stuff. Yeah. And just a true, I Got Soul moment for you. I mean, Tom doesn't really talk about Beyonce too much, but I remember when Sweet Dreams came out by Beyonce, he was going crazy over it. That was the jam. I'd look player. Wow. I would be going crazy alongside with him.
Wow. True moments. And just last thing on Beyonce, while we have potentially the ear of thousands of Beyonce fans listening to this podcast, where do you guys have her among the biggest R&B artists right now? Is she number 1?
That's hard to say because at this point, we call her R&B because a lot of what she does is definitely R&B. R&B is her roots. But, at this point, she's pop star. It's hard to call her, R&B's biggest artist when R&B is just, a kind of a portion of what she is right now. If you want to call her that, by far. But I kind of struggle with calling her R&B's biggest artist because she doesn't feel as R&B as she did as in the 4 era. I think when she hit that Beyonce album is when she kind of stepped away.
And it was a trick question. You nailed it.
Of course.
I love it.
That's how you keep me on.
Nice.
All right. Take us home, Kyle. Where are we going next?
Man, we got a lot of new music that came out recently. Can I start off by talking about my boy, Mario?
Oh, boy.
No, that's out. Cut.
We got to talk about Mario's new Hey, we're Mario supporters, so we got to talk about Mario. He dropped his new single, I Need More. He's got the new album, Paradise Cove, coming out, which will be independent. Now, Tom, in the last
Hold on. Can we share the reel? Can we share the I Got Soul reel?
Well, let me talk about Mario's album first and what we were expecting.
It's Mario related, though. This is Mario related.
All right, I'm listening.
So you interviewed Mario at his hotel.
Yep.
There were some revisions following the interview, weren't there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
I mean, we did the interview with him. If you haven't checked it out, definitely go on the website and check it out. A lot of great information about his upcoming project. But off camera, I was talking to him, and, you know, I was just talking to him as a fan and support about his music. And one of the frustrations he had was that RCA, his label at the time, was trying to push him into more of an adult contemporary format, more of a grown sound. And he thought he was too young for that. He wasn't ready to move into that direction, so he split from the label, took some time off, worked with Scott Storch on a project, the Never Too Late project, which I think is scrapped at this point, not too sure why. But he's back with a new single now called I Need More. Ed, you heard the single, but I mean, I'll talk about it first. It's very trendy, very hip-hop driven. Sounds sort of like a Migos song, and I don't even listen to the Migos, so I could be wrong on that.
No, you're pretty correct. It's pretty Migo-ish.
So, as a Mario fan, I gotta say I'm disappointed because I know he's capable of much more. But I mean, this is the reality of things. I think we all predict this to happen. You know, there's really only two lanes you can go into right now. You're either singing that grown R&B, which I don't think Mario is really ready for yet, or you're doing the Migos Future Fetty Wap type of thing, which doesn't really have a place in R&B, but what's Mario supposed to do?
Well, you didn't share the actual reel, but that'll be another story for another time. But
what's the actual reel?
He made you review the videotape with him for perfection.
Oh, well, that's for another time.
Yeah, we're going to have to chat about that one off camera, because anyway, go ahead.
The moral of the story is, at least he has his GED now. Oh, wait, that's Lloyd, same person.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Mario and Lloyd are the same person.
All of Kyle's generation blends together at times for me.
That's pretty much what our supporter, Lachelle Wallace, says.
Wait, what was the nickname?
Mario is apparently Mario's apparently the little brother that got left behind.
Oh my God! That's not our words, just so you know. Mario, if you're listening, we are big supporters.
Absolutely. Lloyd also put out a new single, like I said earlier. He actually stuck to more of a traditional R&B route. Lloyd's actually been one of those artists who's put out solid projects throughout his entire career. Guys, Ed, let me ask you, because Tom and I had this debate earlier. Who do you think has the stronger discography, Bobby Valentino or Lloyd?
Whoa.
I gave my answer.
Just like first thing that comes to my head is Bobby Valentino, just because I feel like his discography is a little bit more memorable, but I have to go through and like really dissect the two because it's pretty close.
Hey, true story, you actually can't call him Bobby Valentino anymore. Someone who goes by that name, who copyrighted it before him, who forced him to change his name to Bobby V, reached out to us to sue us, and we had to change all our posts to say Bobby V.
What? Now, I knew
I got some stories.
Yep.
Man, it's like true real life, true Hollywood. I got soul. Like, I knew the Bobby Valentino drama, but I don't know if that's legal that they can go back and make you retroactively change posts that
Bobby Valentino's people, the white Bobby Valentino, I could say, ran up on us and made us change our posts. Yep.
What? That is insane, player. That is insane. Bobby V can't have nothing.
I know. That was pretty messed up. And what is even the other Bobby Valentino doing? And who even is he? What does he do?
Other Bobby Valentino is... I used to know what he was doing. I can't remember now. But, I mean, he did, to his credit, he did have, like, that name copyrighted. So, like, he could technically say, Bobby V, you got to change your name. Like, that's... But for him to go after sites saying you have to retroactively change stuff, that I don't know if that would hold up in a court of law. But don't let me get Judge Judy up in this joint.
So back to the question though, my answer was definitively Bobby V.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had bigger hits, I feel like. I have to look too, but
I don't know.
He definitely had bigger hits.
No?
Yeah, you know what?
What?
Yeah, you're right. Would the Lloyd song with Lil Wayne be the biggest out of all of their singles?
Are we talking about
You?
Yeah,
Are we
is
talking
that
about
bigger
charting
than?
success or?
Yeah.
I don't know. You tell. That's
Well, maybe even just longevity.
no. I don't think it would ever be bigger than like Slow Down or yeah.
I'd have to go back and look. I do feel like maybe that You is a little bit more remembered, but I don't know as far as charting and sales success if it was bigger. But I do know for sure Bobby V had more songs than people remember than Lloyd, because Lloyd's biggest were that one and the Patti LaBelle song.
The thing about about You is that I feel like it's a great song, but it hasn't really, like, I never hear it. Although when I'm at events, I'll hear like Bobby V songs. It sounds weird, but I feel You should be played more, but it's just not for some reason to this day. It's weird.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I actually really like that song.
Yeah. So Bobby V is my answer. I feel like he's had better albums too. If I go album per album.
Right, and that's what I'm remembering. It seems like that he's had stronger albums, but again, I would have to go back and look at the list to make sure I'm not missing anything. But just like front of mind, it seems like Bobby V wins that.
So
cool.
Speaking about another R&B artist who's coming out, so sorry, Kyle, to cut you off.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to bring up an album that was coming out too,
yeah.
so we probably have the same thing in mind.
No, you definitely weren't thinking about this one. Were you going to talk about King Keith Sweat and his upcoming album?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to actually talk about Slim, but let's talk about King Keith first.
Close.
Actually, yeah, pretty close, actually.
It is? Wow.
Yes. I mean, back in the day, Slim was kind of like seen as the heir apparent to Keith's throne because there were so many similarities in the quote-unquote begging for love thing. They both had that. So, like, there were a lot of similarities back in, like, way back in 112's early days.
Interesting. Well.
But, yes, King Keith, I'm always here for this.
He's got an album coming out. What do you expect on there, Ed?
I am very excited. His first single, Good Love, is actually burning up the charts right now. Unfortunately, when it first dropped, I wasn't that big of a fan. So, and see, we're going back to the stands. If I can admit that a Keith Sweat song didn't grab me, some of y'all Beyonce fans can admit all her songs ain't perfection, so chill out. Anyway, back to King Keith. So, I like the song okay, but when the videos dropped, it kind of tinkered with the production a little bit, and I like it so much better. It's just a little bit of subtle instrumentation dropped in, and I think he even says at some point in the hook that it's the remix. I don't know if it's the official remix, but I really like this version of the song a lot better, and I'm always looking forward to a Keith album. I will admit, again, going back to my stand-on, that the last really good Keith album was in 2006 or so. He's had a couple since then that have been solid, but not like, oh my God, great. So I think we're due for a banger. So come on through, Keith. Come on through.
And I actually asked him in the interview, because I know he hasn't had an album in like 5 years, and I was like, how much of a priority is making new music for you since you've been so successful? You tour all the time. You have your radio show. So I wanted to ask him from his perspective, is he even inspired to make new music and make a new album? He gave a pretty solid answer. He talked about, remaining relevant through the new music, which is fair. I just wonder if it's going to show when the album comes out, is it going to be an inspired effort, or is it just going to be kind of going through the motions? You said you haven't heard a good one from him since 2006, so.
Yeah, the Just Me album was the last one that was like, it really like hooked me because it was classic Keith, but it was somewhat timely to the sounds of that era. I mean, it was really cool. The more recent ones seem more like, I'm just putting this out. Maybe I got to fulfill an obligation. I'm still touring, just to remind y'all I'm still here. But, again, none of them are bad. They just aren't, as you said, super inspired. So I think that Good Love is kind of the best single he's had in a long time. So kind of my hopes are starting to raise a little bit. But you know me, I will always keep it real no matter what it is. So you can bet that.
All right. He might have to, if you don't like it, he might have to ask you to take down that drop from the site.
Never.
Damn.
All right, Kyle.
We've got Slim's album coming out. Is it out already, Tom?
Yeah, it came out on Friday.
Yeah, it just came out. Slim's album. Tom, I know you're a huge 112 fan. Ed, you are as well. So what are we expecting? Well, let's go back to the first Slim album, the debut that came out. Do you guys remember that one at all?
I do.
Yeah.
And I remember that album being a lot better than I expected. And not that I expected it to be a disaster, but I expected it to be okay. And I remember liking quite a few songs off of that.
The thing is, like, what I don't understand is why the group doesn't come out with another album. It just seems so weird that they're all doing solo projects, even though they reunited 2 years ago and they continue to tour as a group.
Yeah, I saw them on tour with Keith Sweat.
I don't get it. Like, why won't they do it? Because I think that would be the most successful out of them doing these individual projects. I mean, I can't even think of a reason why they wouldn't do it. They're spending time together touring.
Yeah, it's not like there's some beef and they're like all split up. They seemingly are on the same page. They're still touring. There would definitely be a buzz for another 112 album, especially since, you know, and I've said this, I've gone on record many times, their first three albums, I'll put those first three albums up against any other artist's first three albums. I can't think of a group that has released three albums of that caliber back to back. The later ones, you know, hit or miss, but those first three are amazing. And that legacy still stands today. I think if they dropped an album, it would be a head-turner. So I don't know what the holdup is.
Yeah, we haven't heard three straight albums like that from a group since Jagged Edge.
No, don't give me.
Wait, what?
I had to do it.
Man,
Come on,
you take a swig of water on that.
We're not going to get into that debate right now.
No, please don't, because that'll be another half hour. That'll be next, the next topic that we'll be hitting on. 112 or Jagged Edge.
We just had a conversation earlier about Stan Wars, and here you are trying to start one, Tom.
I'm not a Jagged Edge Stan. I actually liked 112 more growing up.
Wow.
I actually like both a lot, so
Yeah, I do too, but them first three Jagged Edge ain't messing with them first three 112s, dog.
All right, calm down. What else we got coming out? Hey, wouldn't it be a great time for 112 to release a new album right around this family reunion tour that Tough Day just announced?
Exactly what I'm saying. And as I was doing the review for Slim's album, which should be posted by the time this podcast goes up, but it's been literally, this year marks 20 years since their debut. So this would be the perfect time.
And we'll see. Who knows?
Well, shout-outs to my boy, Deron Jones. Very active on Twitter, so...
What? Why does that deserve a shout-out?
Come on, the guy gives me a shout-out every other week. You got to love that.
He is active on Twitter. He does appreciate his fans. I'll give him that much. You always like to see that.
Yep.
There's another, speaking of our boy, there's another album coming out for R&B. That's Ro James on RCA coming later this month. That should be a pretty good album. This is his debut. He's been grinding for years on the scene. So.
And I'm very, very happy for him. I don't know if I told you guys this, but maybe a couple months ago, I was rambling on Facebook, as I tend to do about everything, and someone mentioned Ro James's Permission, and I didn't realize that, because I don't listen to the radio, sorry. I didn't realize that was being played in regular rotation, and when the person mentioned it, I'm like, how do you know that song? Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, it's like the hottest song on radio right now. So I checked it out, and I'm like, yes, my boy is, like, killing it on the charts. So I'm very happy for his success because, as you know, we've been watching him for years, and he's just been uber talented. I'm really, really kind of hoping for big things with this album because he deserves it.
The cool thing is I literally used to run into Ro James at events across New York City when I was coming up with I Got Soul in the beginning. He would just be at random events. I don't even know how he got in. Half the time I think he just snuck in or knew someone. I have no idea. But I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? And then we just knew each other from then, and he still remembers, so it's pretty cool to see him make it all this way, you know?
Yeah, shout out to the homie. I love when that hustle comes up.
Speaking of hustle, guys, I forgot about this, but we're going to talk about it now. The Hustle, a.k.a. Music Soul Child, put out his new album. None of us really got a chance to talk about it, so it's been over a month now. Guys, what are your thoughts on the album?
I like the album. I think that it's an album that if fans have been missing kind of classic music, like the classic sound that we first heard 2002, fans fell in love with 2003, like I think that they will really appreciate the album a lot. So I thought as well, it's not perfect. It does have its faults here and there, but it's a decent listen and one of the better releases of the year so far.
It's interesting. When I listened to it, Kyle made a good point. He said, like, it's not a typical Music Soul Child album because, I mean, it's all Warren Campbell produced production. So it didn't really embody that initial neo-soul sound he came up with in the beginning, and I definitely felt that. But it was still good in its own right. I mean, I feel like he evolved his sound. He's got some of that Purple Wonder Love in the mix with the messages in the music. And it's overall, it's just good R&B. I mean, it's not exactly what I expected, but it's a good listen, like you said.
Yeah.
Kind of still undecided on that, what was it, the intro of that song? I mean, of that album? The one with the amazing beat? I don't know if it's a good, song yet.
Yeah,
I just know it's a good beat. I don't know if it's a good song.
Yes, the production of that one was really standout, but the song was like, okay, what's this? But again, like I said, the overall package, I appreciate it, and so far is one of the better albums of 2016.
Yeah. All right, got one for our album. Can we do our album look back?
Well, I want to let me get into this first because I think this is kind of interesting to bring up.
Okay.
Actually, you brought this up a couple of days ago. So there was a concert that happened in Rochester, New York. And it was billed as Drew Hill and what's the group called? With RL, Wingo, Lover's Lane, right? It was RL from Next, or formerly of Next, Wingo from Jagged Edge, and Chauncey from Blackstreet. So they formed a group together, and so it was Drew Hill featuring Lover's Lane. And for some reason, the promoter they didn't have the money to pay Lover's Lane on the date of the concert, so it ended up just being a Drew Hill show. How awkward is that?
That sounds like the most unprofessional thing I have ever heard of. Did they find out that, like, Lover's Lane get there and figure out that we ain't got no check? Like, how did that even come about?
Well, RL said, like, they were just literally sitting in the hotel. I mean, they wouldn't even go to the venue because the promoter was like, got no money. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I feel pretty bad. That's pretty crappy. I mean,
yeah, it's garbage because it makes when stuff like that happens, if you're a fan that went there to see them, all they know is they're not there. So they're going to be pissed at the artist, not knowing that this shady promoter is like screwed them out of their money, and that's who you should be mad at. But I hate situations like that because it really puts the artist in an awkward situation. Because, I mean, brother got to eat. Like, pay that man.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, with this Lover's Lane group, I'm just curious, like, I haven't seen one of their shows live yet, but what are they performing live? Is it just going to be all their group hits, or are they going to make new music? So, Tom, you're going to have to find out from RL.
Well, I'm assuming it's like, when I first saw TGT, they didn't even have any songs yet. And it was just like they were performing covers and, like, their own songs. And they were just kind of standing on the stage like a bunch of celebrities. That's what the show was like. That's literally what the show was like. So, I don't know. I'm sure it won't be, like, totally like that, but I'm sure it's some covers and some of their hits and stuff. I'm sure it's pretty good, whatever it is.
Well, I mean, all three of them can sing, so there's that. But, Tom, let's get into that album look back that you had in mind.
All right, this is an underrated album I've come across. Ed, I think you were raving about it one day. Ready?
Yes.
Sleepy Brown's Mr. Brown album.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
I was actually just joking. I never even heard that album.
You haven't heard?
But it's pretty funny. That Margarita song is really good. Neptunes.
That song is okay. That album, that's one of those albums that dropped, and I don't know, people thought it was almost kind of like the Will I Am album that came out later. That like dropped and people thought were going to be big, and now it's kind of like, the Margarita song was okay, but the album,
Wasn't he like riding the wave of the Outkast, The Way You Move and all that?
Yeah, because he was the hook guy for that. Yeah. So like when he came out, he thought that he could ride that wave, sort of like how when Nate Dogg finally came out with his solo album, his issue was he waited way too late, but he thought he could ride the wave of those hooks, and it just doesn't always translate. People like you on hooks. They might not want you singing a whole song. So it wasn't the biggest thing.
Kyle, do you even know who Sleepy Brown is?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Come on.
Name 3 songs.
Margarita.
I can't name 3 songs.
That's
I got this. Margarita, Dress Up, and Come Dance With Me. How'd I do it?
I can't wait. I know I Can't Wait and Margarita. That's like the only 2 I remember.
You Googled that pretty fast, man.
Yeah, I'm on his Wikipedia page right now.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
I had to do my Wikipedia research before we have to do the album look back, so there it is.
Oh.
Dude, moving on Wikipedia.
In more serious news, do we have anything else?
We're not doing an album look back?
That was our album look back.
Wow. Well, Rolling Stones gave it 3 stars out of 5.
That's probably what I would have given it. Usually I do not agree with their reviews, but I think that's about right.
Rolling Stone, a true authority on R&B music.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Come on.
But this is one I think they're pretty accurate with the 3 stars on that. That sounds about right.
All right.
Last topic.
My God.
Come on, man. We got to embrace everything. You can't always talk about the classics.
Exactly. Last thing I want to talk about, just because we haven't talked about it this podcast. In every podcast we mention Usher, so there's the mention.
Yes, Usher has been mentioned.
That was the mention.
Well, we always got to throw his name out there for some random reason, so we've done it so we can rest easy. Sleep well tonight, listeners.
Wow. All right.
Pretty much. All right. So let's end off this podcast with a food discussion.
Of course.
Wait. Can I share an Usher story?
Yep.
When I interviewed Jermaine Dupri, and in the interview we talked about how Usher should make another Confessions, and then he agreed with me, and then I was like, we'll see when the new album comes out, and he's like, I think he's got a new song coming out with Future. And it was like crickets.
Can we please get over this obsession with Future? Can y'all please Future is like this running joke that people keep laughing at that is not funny anymore. Like on Family Guy, how dude keeps getting beaten up by the big chicken, and like we supposed to act like it's so funny. It was funny the first time, and it's just like old now. That is what Future is. Just give up. Like the panda dude is stealing from Future now. Like,
wow.
Stop with the Future.
Yep.
You know, I walk by a magazine rack pretty often, and I saw GQ, and there's a picture of Future on the cover as the most stylish man. Just saying.
Well, there you go.
Most stylish
and these
or
days,
least stylish? Like, what?
These days, that's more important than being able to have talent, is being stylish and being cool. So.
Yeah, he's not stylish because he wears like a 30-foot scarf and wraps it around his face.
Wow. All right, guys, I don't really have a food discussion, but we forgot about one artist that just put out new music, so we'll end it up with that. We'll end it off with this. Justin Timberlake's new single.
Oh, yes. Almost forgot about that. The Troll song.
Yep. The what?
Twitter.
It's
for the troll movie. I don't know the name of the song.
I thought you trolled people with the song. I thought that's what you meant.
Oh no. Well, he might be. It depends on your thoughts on the song.
Ouch.
It is. Here's the thing with that song. When it came out, I didn't hear that it was out, whatever day it was. But then on my timeline, everyone was just going nuts because I knew that Justin and Timbaland were in the studio, and suddenly here's this song, and everybody's going crazy. So I'm like, oh, we got a new single. So I go to YouKnowIGotSoul.com because I support my brothers and listen to the song, and I'm like, okay, this is like a fake happy. And that's just what it is. It's like, let's do a song that's like Happy for the little kids movie. So it's fine, but it doesn't. I don't see it having the crossover appeal that Happy did. I mean, they were literally playing Happy when I went home to Virginia at my church, they were playing Happy in the church. I don't think they would be playing this troll song in the church. So y'all have fun with it, but y'all wait. I'll wait until the album drops. I'll just say that.
Tom, didn't they also play Happy at your wedding?
Did they? Yeah, they did, actually.
Yeah.
Let's not go there. That's when certain people hit the dance floor, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Another true I Got Soul story, when this Justin Timberlake single came out, because Justin Timberlake's also been in the studio with the Neptunes, both Chad and Pharrell, so we're really excited about that. And when this single came out, I guess he was going to premiere it at like 7 p.m. or so. So every hour since like 12 p.m., Tom was like, make sure you post that Justin Timberlake song. Make sure you post that Justin Timberlake song. 7 o'clock rolls around. I post it, then I listen to it. I'm like, this is what we were waiting for?
Well, you got trolled, and so did I.
I got trolled.
Yes, you got trolled. And I'm not saying the song is terrible, but it is not for me. And I think the kids will like it and dance around to it while they're drinking Kool-Aid and spilling pixie dust all over the ground. What's that sugar mess? Pixie sticks.
Wow. I haven't had those in years.
It's for them, not for me.
Let me wrap it up. I got 2 food items.
Okay.
First question for you, Ed. Have you ever heard of Tim Hortons?
I have. I don't think they have one here, though. I have heard of it.
Oh, okay. Just checking. It's a Canadian thing.
It is a Canadian thing.
It's a Canadian thing?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a Canadian thing.
It made its way over to New York for about 6 months, and then it died.
That's true.
Isn't
true
it like
story.
a coffee shop type place?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but it ain't down here.
And then next question, I've seen this commercial. Tell me if you would ever eat this item of food, a Whopper dog.
I saw that. I saw that yesterday, actually.
Let me keep it real for y'all, because when the hot dogs came out, Burger King is selling these hot dogs. And one day, I had been fiending for like a month for a hot dog. So I'm like, okay, I want a hot dog. There's like a Burger King like not far from my house. So I'm going to stop and get this hot dog thing. It was the wackest hot dog I have ever had. You know how when your mom makes a hot dog, not when you're grilling because it's like 4th of July. I'm talking about when your mom puts the hot dog in the boiling water and it boils, and it's like the old government hot dog that's like really long and skinny and doesn't even get fat in the water. So that's what it tastes like. And it was like $3, and I ate it in like 2 seconds because it was nothing. So the Whopper dog looks like that same lame hot dog, except they line it with tomatoes and lettuce. It looks like the worst thing ever.
Kyle?
I really have no interest in trying that. I saw it yesterday. Normally fast food gets me. Like, man, when the Double Down came out at KFC.
Oh,
you guys remember that?
I am not man enough. I did not have that thing.
Tom, did you have it?
No.
You know Tom isn't going to eat that.
I've been to KFC like once or twice in my whole life. True story.
Yeah. So, yeah, the Double Down got me. The Baconator at Wendy's, I've had that. But this, and the Angry Whopper at Burger King was good too. But this Whopper dog thing, it's not for me. I'll pass.
It's terrible.
Let me ask you this about hot dogs. Would you eat one of those hot dogs, when you walk into like a convenience store like a 7-Eleven and they have the hot dogs on like a rack that's just like rolling them? Just keeps rolling and turning. Now, would one of you eat that?
I ate one of those in New York, didn't I?
That was, I don't know where that came from. That was.
Well, they don't have 7-Eleven here, but like when I was in college and and I was in Virginia and they had 7-Elevens, I would eat those there. And they also used to have these nasty nachos that you would like push this button and this like super yellow cheese would come out.
Oh yeah,
I would eat those too. So when when you're a college student, you eat gross stuff, but I ain't eating that stuff now, please.
Yeah, Kyle. Yeah, he had to try a hot dog when he came to New York. It was pretty gross.
I mean, don't get a like 7-Eleven hot dog if you're going to New York. I'm sure there's like somebody peddling there's always somebody peddling something on the streets of New York. I'm sure there's a hot dog cart somewhere.
Anyways, we're gonna wrap up this podcast. Ed, anything you want to add on?
Check out soulandstereo.com for the review of Slim's album. Like I said, that should be up by the time we get this podcast up. And since it's been a while, you can check out my reviews for Drake album, Beyonce's Lemonade, Kiki's album Rated Love, Music Soul Child, Love Letters, of course. I got plenty of questions from y'all. Of course, the ranking of the Beyonce albums. And we didn't talk about the passing of Prince. I've got a couple of pieces on Prince. Tons of stuff if you go to soulandstereo.com.
Man, let's have a moment of silence for Prince. Since we already had one for Randy Savage, we should probably have one for Prince. So let's give him a moment. Let's give him a moment of silence.
Yeah.
You just ruined the moment of silence, so we're gonna have to do it again. All right, so that's it for us as well. Tom, anything we need to add on?
We got our Road James interview coming this week, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And we've not much else to cover right now, so I'll just keep pushing.
Cool. So some homework for everyone that's listening. For anyone that's listening to this and got to the end, tell us what your favorite Prince song is, and comment on our YouTube, on our website, on our Twitter. So just let us know what your favorite Prince song is. I'm sure we'll have a full-on Prince tribute on our next podcast. But until then, we are out, guys. This is Kyle signing out with Tom and Ed. 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 Signing out with Tom.